Hi everyone, today we are going to start, I say start, I don't think we'll get it all done, colouring this lovely owl page. This is from Enchanted Forest. Actually I'm colouring in my Miniature Enchanted Forest, but the picture is exactly the same, just on a different scale to the large book, so you could follow along even if you don't have the mini book. So I'm going to have a little think. Now over here I did this small picture, I've got a video of this for you, and I think I used Ergosoft for this, I think, and I'm going to use Ergosoft for here as well. I'm in two minds whether to copy the blue across. Obviously our owl, he could be warm colours, but I often think of him as blue because he's sort of a nocturnal animal, so it's a bit tricky. Do I do blue leaves and a grey owl, or do I do warm brown owl and sort of autumnal green leaves? I don't know. I think I'm going to go with the blue route because I think it's quite pretty. So I think if I do the owl grey and the leaves blue, then there'll be a contrast. We can't, if we do everything blue, I've only got, well, I've got quite a few blues, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blues, 6 blues, 7 blues, but 6. Can't count. That's still not a lot of difference to sort of make this one stand out. I think if we start with the owl, that's quite fun, and then move on from there. So we'll come in fairly close to Mr. Owl. There we go. And get started. Now I'm thinking blue eyes will be good though, because they will stand out and work well with the leaves. So I'm going to grab a couple of blues. As I say, I'm using Ergosoft. You don't have to use Ergosoft, but these are nice and pointy because I like them for the small book, because you can get into the little details. And this is number 35, which is quite a bluey green. And I'm going to just start the eyes now with the. We've got quite a big sort of eye area here, and I always find it, you have to decide what you're going to do, and I think I'm going to make the iris part these two sections. So I'm going to go right across both of these bits. I'm going to sort of ignore Johanna's detailing and just go in with some solid colour, put in quite a few layers. I rather like this colour blue, I think it's quite pretty. I'm going to start to fade it like that, and I'm just going to put a smaller bit here. Okay, and then we'll do the same on the other side. So quite a heavy amount here, and then fade, and then just a little bit here. And then we're going to go in with a lighter blue. Is that the right one? Yes. Number 37. This one looks brand new, which is good. And really thinking, is that really the right one? Yeah, it seems a little bit lighter than I expected. I have got the 36 set of Ergosofts, by the way, so I've got all the available colours. If you don't, then you could just use one tone of blue for this and just gently fade it. I'm going to make it really light just at the bottom. Could even leave a bit of white. And the same here. I'm sort of going over what's there and then just putting less layers. So lots of layers up here, saturate that colour, and then just a little bit nearer the bottom. I think that helps it to look more interesting. Okay, now for the main body of the owl, we've got basically 2 greys in this set, but we could use a bit of black as well. So I'm thinking I want some lighter areas and some darker areas, obviously, to give it some interest. I'm going to put a light area under the eye. I think that will help the blue to stand out, perhaps. Perhaps a darker would, I don't know. I'm going to follow that shading that we've got already, so a little bit darker in the corner, lighter in the middle, like that, on this eye. Now these 2 greys are both quite silvery, which is quite nice. Some greys can be quite brown, but these aren't. Need to try and make that match, so that's a bit too pale. There we go. Now I'm going to do the eyebrows. I'm going to grab my darker brown, it's number 8. I may not have told you the number of the other one. It was number 80. So I'm going to make them darker here in the corner and then fade that towards the middle like that, and then the darker bit on each end. Trying hard to see, those bits are very narrow. Like that. Now you could add some light brown to that as well, but I'm actually quite happy with it like that, because the lighter shading of the dark brown is actually a very different colour to the light brown, so I think it works quite well. And a bit here, and bring that down towards the centre as well. It's just try and just make it nice and smooth. That's what I'm trying to do. Like that. Now these bits are always a bit tricky for me. What do I do with those? I think what I do is I use this darker grey for those bits and use a lighter grey for the rest. So I'm going to go in quite hard here, quite a few layers, so it looks different to the eyebrow, but I can fade it off towards the end. Now you can just ignore some of Johanna's detailing, let them shine through your colour, but you don't have to colour them a different colour if you find that easier. Now I'm thinking I just want a bit of this dark on the top of the ear there, actually, having said I'm going to do it all light. Contradict myself almost immediately. There we go. And then pop in the lighter one. So back to number 80, and I'm just going to do all this in 80. I'm going to go over these darker corners for ear parts first, and then start to fade it towards the middle. I think it would probably be darker at the bottom than the top, but this goes all the way down here. Can you see beside the beak? So we're going to take it right down. Let's just concentrate on the top part though. Try not to overcomplicate it by thinking too far ahead. Keep that quite light. Keeping it all quite light actually there. Around there. Just darkening up a few areas as we go. And then I'm going to take that all the way down to here. Now because our part under our eye was this colour, I want to add some dark down here so that it looks a bit different. Could keep it really light like that, but I think no, I'll darken it up a little bit. And then we'll have a sort of frame around the eye from the darker eyebrow and the darker, whatever this is, low brow. Sorry. Laughing at my own silliness. I was going to say joke, it's not really a joke, it's just silly. Number 8 is our darker grey, of course, and we'll start here and just gently add some layers. So I want it to go all the way under here, like that. It doesn't have to be too hard. Don't have to do it quite as dark as the eyebrow if we don't want to. There we go. I'm not sure if I want it, I think I do want it dark in here, so it sort of looks, hang on, in there. I do want it dark so it matches that. Oh, my toe's hurting. I've got a sore toe. I cracked my nail ages ago, and it's growing out, and it's suddenly decided it's going to start to lift off. It wasn't anything too exciting. I was just making a bed and I hit it under the divan. I sort of stubbed it on the bed, and it was quite sore at the time, but now it's fine. But it's twinges. I did a lot of walking yesterday. I don't know whether having shoes on it didn't help it. I don't know. There we go. So we try and keep it sort of lighter there and there. We're sort of framing our eyes. Now the beak itself, I was thinking I might do just in black, so that it sort of stands out as being different, really. I'll leave that for a minute. I'm going to go to my light grey, and I'm going to do this belly here. I'm thinking light grey here, sort of light grey belly. Maybe a little bit darker under the beak. There might be a little bit of shadow. Just fade it down. Even though it's a light colour, we can still layer it up to make it look a little darker in places. And I'm thinking in here as well, the lighter colour. And it's symmetrical, so we're having to do everything twice. But that's okay. And here, and in all these gaps. Now I'm only doing a light layer at the minute. I might change my mind once I've sort of got down to this bit and I'm finishing. But I'm just filling in all these little gaps at the minute. There may not be any need to make it more than just one layer. We'll just see how it all goes. Like that. So yeah, I was having a nice chat. I haven't caught up with my mum for a while. She was asking if we had dates for the kitchen being done. Yeah. So we have the a bit of initial work starting next week, and then we can do, I don't know how long that's going to take, and then there'll be a gap, and well, half the kitchen's in a mess, but it's still usable, which is good. We'll even still be able to have the table and chairs in there, and be able to cook and everything, and use the washing machine and dishwasher and everything, so that'll be good. They're doing a little bit, just changing the boiler over, and then I'm always a bit confused by this tail as to quite what to do, but I'm just gonna go with the flow, see what I think is gonna work. Now he's a bird, he's got feathers, but we haven't got a lot of feathering yet. We can't see the feathers, but here we've suddenly got the texture. We can add the texture of feathers on these. So that's what I'm going to do now with my darker grey, number 8, and we're going to make them layer up a little more at the top. I want it to look significantly darker than that bit above, and then less towards the tip, significantly less towards the tip. It can go to almost white, or white. There's not enough room really on that little one to fade it down to white, but just do less layers towards the tip. Now it can be tricky to get this even, the graduation. Do your best. It takes practice. I'm not perfect either, nobody is, and just do your best, have fun. Enjoy the process. I find it very relaxing just using one colour and doing this. I don't know about you. So we're just doing less layers towards the tip. It's a technique I use loads, and it can be quite effective. The more you practice, the better it'll look. And it's like everything. Also, I find if I don't do it for a while, it's not so good. It's, you know, you've got to keep up that practice as well. You can't just, even if you've mastered it, you'll have to keep practicing. I think it's like anything really. You know, sport, music, things like that. If you get yourself out of practice, although you know the techniques, it's a little easier to get back into it. It still takes practice to get it spot on again. So we mustn't beat ourselves up if we feel we may have taken a step back. If we've taken a little break from colouring, you can take time to get back to how you were before. Also, if you're doing a new book, so got a new style of artists to cope with, or you've got a new set of pencils or something like that, you've got to practice with them as well. So that also will make things different. And even going from one set of pencils to another, which I do all the time, it takes you a little bit of time just to remember how those particular pencils work, whether there's a slightly different technique for them or not. So there we have a more feathery texture, which I think is rather cool. And we can do that on these bits as well. Now it's interesting because I heard someone say, someone in a group saying they'd done a picture, they didn't like it, they threw it away or something like that. You know, they didn't like that, or they had an old book and they'd done a few pictures in it, but they'd improved a lot, so they wanted to buy a new one. Now for me, I think all these things where it goes a little bit wrong are really useful reminders and really good to look back on. I'm trying to do this one really hard so it stands out above the dark. It might have been... I'm going to layer it up. I think it's a good reminder of where we've come from. Everyone makes mistakes. There's no need to have to throw it away and feel ashamed. I've done it once and I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd left it in the book so that I know what I did, because I've only done it, you know, done a page that I've thrown away once. It was so bad. But leave it, you know, unless it stops you colouring in the book because you look back and think that's horrid. Leave it, and then you can see where you've come from and how you've improved, and it will remind you not to make that mistake again if it was like a mistake. Like what I did was I did some red glitter pen, and then I did a pastel background. The pastels were red and I used them too dark and too thickly. I missed that bit. And I spread them. The red pastel, ended up spreading glitter everywhere, and this red pastel, it just looked like there'd been some sort of horrific accident. It was really nasty, but I tore it out and threw it away because it was in the Johanna's Christmas book, and it's perforated. And I now wish I hadn't done that. I wish I'd left it so that I could show you that, you know, this is horrific. This is don't do that. And you know, might have even been able to rescue it. I very rarely though go back and change a picture I did. I've done it a couple of times, but I like to see my progression, and so the picture that I do today is probably not going to be as good as a picture that I do next year or the year after or in 10 years time. So, but I would like to have a look and see how I've improved. Hopefully I've improved. Okay, this bottom bit I'm going to just do in this sort of hard layer as well. The only thing is, if you look carefully, this bit of body looks like it continues into here in the light grey. I am going to do it in the light grey and then I'm going to have to think. So this is the number 80. I could just make it a little bit darker, which it is at the minute. If I think, because this is the tail where the feathers are usually more defined, which I think is what Johanna's trying to do with this pretty pattern that she's drawn. What we could do is, with our darker grey, is just draw in a few feathers in these gaps, lines, fur, well it's not fur, is it? Feathers, as I said. Like that, and we could just do a bit here too. Need a sharp pencil for this. Keep them small, thinking about the size of the bird. Although his tail feathers are going to be longer, his body feathers are going to be shorter. You can hear a dog outside, I don't know if you can hear it. I don't think this window's open. I hope not, because I don't usually leave it open at night and haven't looked at it this morning. Those need to start at the top. That's better. Now let's do the beak using the black, which is number 9. Not in the middle, are we? There we go. Now I could just do it all really black, but I can't decide. I think that little bit above the sort of nose bit, I'm going to leave a bit lighter. And then I'm thinking, maybe if I do it all dark and then we use a bit of white pen, that might work. I need to make sure that it's layered up enough so that it doesn't look like the colour of the grey. So it really looks black. Now you could use a gel pen for this. A glazed pen would give you some shine. I've been told that if you burnish it gives things more shine and looks more intensely black as well, but I think this black can become quite intense if you layer it up anyway, like that. And now I'm going to get a white pen. It's that a bit thick. I think that'll work. There's Gellyroll 10, and do a few marks. Now the eyes, I feel we need a little bit of light in our eyes to make them look like they're shiny. So I'm going to go like that in our eyes. Do a thicker bit on the beak like that, and then a little bit on the feet. So there is the owl. It's a good place to stop now and come back tomorrow for the leaves maybe, or maybe the background. Not sure yet, but I think we'll stop there having done the owl. I think, and I need to let that white pen dry a little bit so I don't smudge it. It doesn't take long, but long enough for me to just stop the video and write down the pencil numbers and have a sip of water, and then we'll think about leaves. But for now, thank you for watching. I hope that was okay. I hope you had fun, and happy colouring.